Hey YouTube, got back out here this evening, Friday evening, waiting for some parts to come in for the A-pillar, so I kind of put the rocker panel work on hold. You know, sometimes you just want to change the pace of what you're working on, flip things around, so I thought I'd show you guys what I've been working on this evening just for a little bit of fun and just a change of pace. So what I was doing is going through the floor, the existing one here, and just kind of looking at the different features and comparing it to the new floor that I got. So I saw that on the original floor here, there's a stamped dip where this hole is in relation to a rectangular access hole here. And it's a little rectangle. It looks square, but it's not. But on this floor, it's smooth there. So just kind of looking and seeing, okay, what are the differences and do they matter? No, they don't. This is what was in that hole. Little plug. And as you can see over here, I left some of it on. It had seam sealer around it. There's a little bit, a chunk of it here that was kind of covering over this hole actually. But this hole wasn't used. It just had seam sealer on it. This hole had that little pocket in there. It didn't have anything attached to it. And then I saw in the groove, might be difficult to make out, but there's a little tab lifted up on either side, two of them, an ear that opens up each way. This is what that looked like before. So it had this seam sealer on there, and then the same this little pocket, and then this is the same hole that is right here on the other side. I just haven't dug it out. And you see a little grommet there. So just kind of comparing features, looking at where, when I put the floor in, where I want to make my cut to scab it in. There's an interesting wrinkle from the factory stamping here, and you see complaints sometimes on forums and things of people saying, oh, this stamping stinks, there's a big wrinkle in it. It's like, factory panels weren't perfect either. They were working at a pretty fast pace to whip these out. But I'm actually standing in the hole that's in this floor at the moment. It's a little more comfortable. And then just looking over on this side, there's some seam sealer over this spot. I don't see any seam sealer, but I have a feeling it was already just taken off here. And then you can see this tab that's lifted up. That's that double tab here. There's one there. There's one here. There's one there. There was one underneath where this replacement patch panel has been welded in. And then there's no telling exactly where they were in this one, just to verify, because there's nothing left over here. But I come over to the new floor, and I marked it out with a silver Sharpie just so you can see it on the black. I'll try and get an angle to make sure that it comes up on the screen here. So I've marked out where those are. And what I'm going to do is, out here in the shop floor where I can lay on it easier and be a little more comfortable than whenever it's in the car, I'm just going to go ahead and put some brushable seam sealer over those spots right now. I don't know exactly what those tabs were meant to be, but they were seam sealed over before, so they're obviously not being used. You know, it might have been a thing for holding down wires or a carpet, who knows. I haven't looked into it, but I'm just going to seam seal over them. So that's going to be the theme of this project. Just get a Scotch-Brite to scuff up this EDP primer, just to give it some tooth. So yeah, take the shine off. It's good enough there. So I think I'll go ahead and put this on a time lapse. All I'm going to do is get all those scrubbed down, then grab my brushable seam sealer. This one happens to be Evercoat. I don't always use Eastwood stuff. This one was one of those, bought the Evercoat filler from Amazon, and it recommended this a couple years ago for a truck I was working on, and it lasts a long time. So I'm going to use it on this one. But yeah, just open it and give it a stir. I already did that. Some of the resins come out of it. And just use an acid brush. It's super cheap. And brush it on. And then once it's in place, it'll have, you can see there's kind of some stringiness to it from where I was stirring it. It'll look like that on the floor. So my plan is to take some of this pre-painting prep, you use a wax and grease remover or any other kind of pre-prep, mineral spirits, what have you, and just kind of wet the surface and smooth it down with my finger after I get it on there, just to give it a smoother appearance. I don't want it so rough. It actually look kind of nice, even though you won't see it under the floor, because it's going to be, or under the carpet on the floor when I get that in there. But years down the road, when I don't have this car anymore, someone's going to lift that up and say, oh, they did a really good job whenever they replaced the flooring here, spent the time to seal it. And you want to seal it and not just leave it like this, because it's not going to be driven daily in the rain or anything like it was originally intended. But dust and debris gets up there, you go on a car show and oh, there's a pop-up shower, and you get water, moisture in there, just general moisture in your environment. I mean, my concrete shop floor has moisture in it because it's not a very well climate controlled building. Use the little window AC unit and a bullet heater out here in the wintertime, so it's got a fair amount of moisture in the environment. So you just want to seal up certain stuff and do the right job as if you were going to drive it every day, even if you don't. But yeah, I'll get this time lapse set up, and then we'll get going here and you guys see what I'm working on this one. Well, there you have it. As you can see, I adjusted my technique as I was going along. The first few, they smoothed out just fine, and it worked okay, but I didn't like the looseness of the edge, just how wavy and everything. Kind of an unfinished look. Like I said, it's going underneath carpet, so it doesn't have to be super fantastic, and from the job they did on the factory, it looks way better than that. But what you can do with this stuff, put a little bit of masking tape down so you get a crisper edge, and then when you smooth it out, you'll get a really nice look. Although it kind of looks like there's little bits of tape stuck down there, but yeah, it filled it up okay. And then what I plan to do is do the same thing on the bottom side for those edges that were cut out. So I don't know if they were laser cut or water jet cut. They look laser cut. But what I'll do is when I plan on flipping this thing over before I put it in, and using truck bed coating on the bottom side for both heat and sound dampener, as well as rust protection. So this electro deposition primer is really good stuff. It sticks well, and you scuff it up, and paint sticks to it well. Other, epoxy primer or paint or whatever you want to put on there, just scuffing it up. But if you put it in the car just like this, especially on the bottom side, with just the EDP coating, the regular moisture that's in the atmosphere will cause the bottom side to start to surface rust over time because it's not sealed. It's a well-dipped material, but it will rust. And I've got proof over in the other shop. I've got 2 inner fenders for an 85 C10 that I had left the underside in just the raw EDP coating, and I had painted the top side with a underhood black or chassis black, something like that. So the top side looks great, and when I flipped the fenders over the other day, the inside of the tubs had surface rust on it. It had rusted through that EDP primer. And it's only been about 2.5 years since I got them, and they've never been out of the garage. So, I'm in St. Louis, so it's pretty humid here. And it surface rusted from that through the primer. So it's a really good idea to top coat this stuff on both sides. Now, I'll probably do the top of the floor after I put it in the car. But the bottom side, it'll be a lot easier since I don't have a lift or rotisserie or anything like that. I'm just going to flip this thing over and put on truck bed liner. I'll spray it on the bottom side so it gets on there pretty good. It'll act as a nice sound dampener and give it a little bit of thermal protection as well for the exhaust going through here. And with a big block, it's going to have a lot of exhaust heat. But that way I don't have to worry about it. The old rubberized undercoating is kind of a nightmare. I peeled that stuff off and found rust all up underneath that. It crumbles and peels away. But the modern bed liners are really good stuff. They stick on pretty well. So that's what I recommend if you're going to go about it. And you can do bed liner on the top side as well. They've got lizard skin and all sorts of other stuff, but just anything to keep it from just being the EDP coating, because it's great stuff, but it's not a finished final coat. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching, and I'll catch you later. Like, share, and subscribe.